Welcome to Clause 8. You're watching a short clip from one of our full episodes, featuring real conversations with the leaders shaping IP.
First time I interviewed you, there was a big push for antitrust legislation, and we were, I think you mentioned how patent issues might not be as important relative to that, but now it seems, I guess, probably the issues maybe are even more existential or pressing. Those just legislative proposals. So it seems, I guess maybe on PERA on 101 side, do you see a more opening there? Since I guess maybe some of the members are not as aggravated.
I think on 101, the thing I'll say is where, Dave talked about with Prevail that he didn't feel there was a lot of compromise and there's been a lot of work that's gone into 101. Dave mentioned the first time we met, it was at these roundtables back in the 2018, 2019 timeframe. And lots of stakeholders involved, a lot of staff time involved. And I felt at the time that we were building momentum toward some sort of, maybe we never would have reached a consensus, but we were building kind of a critical mass toward a reform that touched on 101. It also had some tweaks to 112 and other areas so that we're getting to that real sense of compromise where nobody loves it, but they're getting something. At one point, all the parties kind of retreated to their corners. That kind of fell by the wayside. It was restarted during COVID, kind of virtual, roundtables or town halls, whatever you want to call it. I felt like not everybody, I think Dave did a great job of trying to, deal with, I don't want to say opponents, but people on the other side. Others had really dug in on their positions and were not interested in compromise at all. You wound up with PERA that I don't want to put words in Dave's mouth, but he thinks that really favors one side over the other. I don't necessarily disagree that much with him there. It's similar to what was presented by one of the sides. But there have been hearings, Senator Tillis has said he wants to, reconstitute some working groups because he wants to get something done.
And to be fair, some didn't think PERA went far enough in terms
That's
of
true. Again, I'm probably not terribly optimistic that we're going to get there by the end of this Congress, but I don't doubt Senator Tillis's willingness to engage here and try to find a solution. And I don't doubt that he's going to push his colleagues, whether it be Senator, Chairman Grassley to put it on the markup agenda, his other colleagues to vote for it. I just know when we moved Prevail out of the Judiciary Committee, PERA was on the agenda as well. It was ultimately pulled off the agenda because there wasn't enough support. And this is a space that's complicated. Members and their staff don't necessarily, all the members, I should say, and all their staff don't necessarily understand it. They're hearing from constituents on both sides of these issues.
Yeah.
My universities tell me this is great and I need to support it. But my real retailers tell me it's the worst thing and I can't support it. They don't know where to go. And so it's going to be tough for them, to ultimately support something like that.
And what do you think the difference is between Prevail and PERA that allowed Prevail to get over the line, at least in the committee, and PERA?
I think with Prevail, it's a little more understandable of like what the PTAB does. You can look at the statistics. You can hear the stories from constituent groups who come in who say, look, I had this, great patent. I was taken to the PTAB. It was killed there by this death squad. We need to rein it in. Section 101, you're talking about abstract ideas and laws of nature. And I think a lot of people on the Hill, their eyes gloss over and they don't really understand it. And so it's difficult for them. The biggest debate we had as we had briefings and the like on 101 is, does this cover human genes? Like there is language in there about, it doesn't, there's an exception for human genes as they are in the human body. Don't quote me. I can't remember the exact language, but something along those lines. But what does it mean when it's extracted or when it's purified? And so that was some understandable chunk of the bill that offices could latch onto and dig into.
Yeah.
And they were struggling with it. They hadn't even touched a lot of the other stuff because it was a little more vague and less understandable to them.
It's interesting because Squire's obviously been talking about how AI is the future, and that's why they've been taking some steps to kind of fix it. From his view, fix the USPTO's approach to patent eligibility. But do you think this conversation about AI, do you think that makes it easier? Like, hey, AI is actually something complicated and should be clearly patent eligible. Do you think that helps with PERA, or that's kind of
I mean, everybody's kind of obsessed with AI right now.
Yeah.
So I could see that getting some people intrigued. I mean, part of what undermines that, and I'm curious of Dave's view, if you say that, patent eligibility is going to prevent us from getting all these AI patents. Well, we've been told that we need the patent system because it drives innovation. It drives investment. There's no shortage of investment in AI right now.
Nope.
So it's difficult, I think, for a lot of people to understand, well, then why are you telling me we need to change the patent system to get greater investment in AI when billions of dollars is being invested in AI right
so
now?
risky argument, you're saying?
It is to me. You're going to get questions on the back end of like, okay, explain this to me again. Like, I don't really get this.
Also, the argument has always been whatever flavor of the day. I remember the first, the set of 3 hearings. I can't remember who it was, and maybe it was Kappa was making a big deal about, we'll never get the rollout of 5G unless we fix 101. And I'm like, I think you will. And we did.
We did, yeah. But none of those patents, I think, have been validated under 101 yet, but I will see.
Then what's the problem? I mean, that's the other issue. Post Berkheimer, I'm not sure anything goes down on 101.
We're too busy, saying, car axles are eligible.
It wasn't to a car axle. It's to an abstract idea about a car axle.
And cameras and all that. Yeah, so, I guess, Dave, do you think there's more room on PERA this Congress, or?
I doubt it. From our perspective, I mean, there have been a lot of discussions, but it's moved further and further in one direction, as far as I can tell, or at least that's kind of our view. So it's hard to see how a genuine compromise could happen at this point. I think both sides are pretty dug in. I could see Senator Tillis is an immensely likable man. I mean, he just really is. And his colleagues really like him. So I could imagine right at the end of the Congress, slips through on markup and with the understanding it's not going anywhere on the floor. But enactment, I think, is almost impossible.
And just to that point about, getting something through the committee, the other is, like my old boss, Senator Durbin.
Well, I was thinking as a law, but yeah.
But, like my old boss, Senator Durbin, Chairman Grassley is a legislator.
Yeah.
Like, he likes, to vote on things. He thinks that's why he was sent to the Senate.
Yeah.
And so he's going to want to, have a steady stream of bills on the markup agenda that he can help move. And he's going to want to see if there's something he can do for Senator Tillis, who he likes and who's, going to retire from the Senate at the end of this Congress. Chairman Grassley's staff, they do understand these issues. They do dig into them. And so I can, if they want to get hands-on and try to, mold this into something they can get through the committee, they might be able to do so. But a lot of work has gone into it already, and we're in a fairly intractable place, I feel.